Hello, Thunder fans. It is Monday, April 14th, and your Oklahoma City Thunder just concluded the season with a record of 68-14, tied for the fifth best record in NBA history. They also played an NBA game in New Orleans, but, honestly, Jamison, who cares? It's playoff time in Oklahoma, damn it. I'm your host, Bobby Howard, and look, Jamison, he's here on the pod with me, so I'm not just talking to myself the whole time. We're going to turn our eyes towards the postseason, preview the play-in tournament, all of that. But before we do that, Jamison, let's kind of talk about this final stretch here for the Thunder. It feels like 10 years ago, but, there were some questions about this team about a week ago. Bit of a tough loss to the Lakers, followed up by a pretty damn good performance on Tuesday against the Lakers. I don't know what, and then two obvious blowouts with the Oklahoma City Blue in. So what my thoughts are, what are your thoughts on this final stretch? Can you take anything from it?
I think, we can be disappointed in the Lakers loss, but don't take too much from it. That's a damn good team who's playing really good basketball right now and had one of the best three-point shooting games in NBA history. So, just throw that away and be like, good teams will beat you. That's normal. This season, Bobby, we are conditioned that no matter who we put out there, Brandon Carlson, Aaron Wiggins, Adam Flagler is actually playing okay now to end the season. We go out and we win by double digits. When we lose, we're all panicking. We lost 14 games this season. It's basketball. It's a game of chance. It's fine. I'm not going to overreact at all. I feel great moving into the playoffs, and I think our guys are well rested. And the team that we have to play in the 8th seed will not be a well rested team because of this slog at the end of the season.
Oh yeah, and I think the play-in more than anything is I don't want to the 9-10. Obviously some opportunity there, but more than anything, it is I don't want to say a death sentence if you're a team like the Warriors or Memphis, but it definitely makes life a lot harder. Not having that gap where you can rest, get re-geared towards the playoffs, that's huge. So whoever the Thunder end up playing, I think they're in a tough position. I think Memphis and Golden State, obviously their game against each other is going to be great. But even I don't know, Sacramento and Dallas, I don't know if they pose a real threat. We'll talk a little bit about that in depth. But overall, this was a really great, just an incredible season. Only 7 teams in NBA history have won 68 wins or more. That is unbelievable. And to do it, as the youngest team in the league, it's mind-blowing. And I think it's one of those things where losses you always overreact to a little bit. It's an 82-game season, and sometimes, when you're just kind of mowing over teams, it's easy to point out the bad. But there is not a lot of bad in this season at all, outside of some injury luck. But even then, the Thunder just overcame that. So,
yeah, it's if we break down our win by percentage, I just looked down on my phone. I was not doing quick maths. 83% win percentage. That's out of 5 out of every 6 or so games or so. If you do that throughout the playoffs, you win the NBA Finals. I understand that we're playing harder and harder teams, but it's okay to lose. It's okay. We will lose in the playoffs. First round, Memphis, Golden State, they're not a joke. I expect us not to sweep them if we play either of those two. If you are a Thunder fan and you are saying that Lakers game at the end of the season disheartens me, stop. If you expect to go through the first couple of rounds and sweep them, I applaud you. Likely not going to happen. So I think that we should applaud this ending of the season, Bobby, and say that was great because we got plenty of rest at the end. Our young guys got some confidence. Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe got into really good shooting out of a shooting slump in the Phoenix game. I think that we should applaud that and not really harp on that loss too much versus the Lakers. Because if we played the Lakers in a playoff in the Western Conference Finals, Bobby, do you expect to sweep them?
No, of course not.
Hell no.
No.
Hell no. So to lose to them once and split the series 1-1, of course it's fine.
Yeah, no doubt. It's an absolute, the whole season as a whole is an accomplishment. But, I think, and the guys, acknowledged it themselves, they didn't have the same energy in that game. It wasn't, and they clearly corrected it for that next game and on Tuesday and re-geared, and playoff intensity is hard to maintain throughout a season, especially when you have everything kind of locked up. And they kind of admitted that was an issue. But I mean, this is one of the best teams ever. They finished second all-time net rating. That's unbelievable.
I really wish it was number one, though. That was a shame.
Right, and if we wanted to talk about anything that was a bummer, there's the Rocket game and that Laker game really tanked the net rating there, which is a bummer. But hey, look, at this point, you're really picking nits when you're like, oh no, we weren't better than the '96 Bulls on this very specific statistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes me wish. I don't want to play hindsight, but I think that we got plenty of rest at the end of the season. That Houston game was a scheduled, rest game with it being a one-off road game. I wish we would have utilized that. But to be honest with you, going into the postseason, I bet you our guys have a little bit of, not a pure bill of health right now. We know Jay Will just rolled his ankle a little bit in game 82. Some of the guys that sat out, I'm sure that they aren't 100% as most NBA players are at the end of the season. But I think that we should be pretty happy at these last 2 to 3 games. We've gotten a lot of rest for our great players.
Absolutely. I think there's always a balance between rest and rust, but, if you know anything about this Thunder team, they'll, find a way to stay locked in and keep things cohesive in practice. But,
if this was the March Madness, Bobby, I'd be a little bit worried. It's a 7-game series. Because you see this, like the teams that are the 11 seeds, a lot of them come out and win that first game. But this is not a one-off that the team that gets out of the play-in is going to go out and get one off and win the series, right? So even if we lay a little bit of a stinker in game 1 because we've been playing too much, I think that the rewards long-term of, Steph Curry, like say if we play the Warriors, Bobby, that dude, he's nursing a thumb injury he just got. I know Draymond Green is not completely healthy at this point in the season. Jimmy Butler, I think it's just a knee-to-knee contact and he had that last game. Still, a lot of these guys are going to be nursing some injuries moving into this play-in, and they're not going to have that kind of, advantage that the Thunder had to stay rested because the playoffs is an absolute gruel journey.
Yeah, it is a grueling grind for sure. And Golden State, they needed that break, but they desperately needed to win that game, and you could tell because of how hard them and the Clippers were going that they didn't. They didn't want to get in that damn play-in. And, I think if you're a Warriors fan, you have to be pretty frustrated with the end of the season. I think you really wanted to get out of that. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about the play-in games here. So first one up, obviously Tuesday, you got the Memphis Grizzlies heading to the Bay Area to take on Golden State. This hasn't been a particularly good regular season series for the Grizzlies against Golden State. The Warriors have, I felt like we're pretty much the better team anytime these two teams played. Obviously, the most recent matchup being that 134-125 win over the Grizzlies where Curry had 52 and hit 12 3-pointers. And that's really, boiling it down to me, I think that's the thing with Curry, is he can either go off like that and you have no chance of winning, or, I don't know, you never know. He's an older guy, and if he's off, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if I am, the Thunder fan watching that game Tuesday night really, really closely, hoping for the Warriors to lose, we're hoping for them to win, so you don't have to play them, and you'd rather play a team like Memphis. I get that completely. But on the other side of it, if we want to play a little bit optimistic, we said about it on our last pod together, we do not want to see the Warriors because Steph Curry opens up a lot of scars. But at the same time, this guy, his shooting thumb is hurt, even though he played really well with it today. That still changes his equilibrium. And I believe in a guy like Cason Wallace who's shown to really give Curry some fits. Like, he had that great strip and block on him in one of our matchups. I think that we have the tools to succeed versus Golden State, to where even if we do pull them and they do lose to Memphis and they win versus a Dallas or a Sacramento, we could still give him some fits and not make him comfortable.
Yeah, as a team, the Thunder on paper look like they're really well equipped to defend a Golden State. Like you said, Cason Wallace has had really good moments against Curry, and when you just think of the best attributes about Golden State through the years, really is their ability to go small. And The Thunder, I feel like, are pretty good at matching a good small ball lineup if they need to. Chet Holmgren is an excellent small ball 5. I feel like Isaiah Hartenstein, while he's not exactly a small ball center by any means, he can, he's mobile enough where he, won't be just completely screwed out there trying to play defense, or, he won't be a liability on offense. So I think on paper, yeah, Golden State feels like a pretty solid matchup, but you're right, it's the Curry of it all. The things you can't explain or understand, the ability to just make a shot from anywhere and get hot. I mean, today was an example of that. He was horrible until the fourth quarter. And then he just, lit it up. And I think that's why you really do not want to see Golden State round 1 at all. And, also just flat out, the Thunder lost the season series to him. That first game where Chet Holmgren goes down, obviously freak accident, hard to really, blame the Thunder for that one. But, they put up a pretty tough game against Golden State at the Chase Center around late January. And I don't know, kind of just a bit of a bad taste in my mouth whenever I think about this series with the Thunder this season.
What do you think about the double big lineup coming into these two potential matchups? We can say, Dallas and Sacramento options, but, I feel pretty likely that it's going to be one of either Memphis or Golden State at this point. It's kind of two philosophies here. Like, I feel like some people have soured a little bit on the double big lineup at the end of the season. What do you think about, say, if we got Golden State round 1, what would you think about, who would you want to start? Who would you want to see out there as your starting 5?
I think you would start the series with, the standard starting 5 with Hartenstein and Holmgren out there just to, give them the base look and then adjust as needed. If that sort of lineup kind of flops, then you definitely go smaller. Because
So
I think
Curry. And then J-Dub on Jimmy Butler is what you're saying here.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think maybe I'm predicting what I think will happen. Because I think that's
I think so too. That's what I think what will happen too. I agree with you on that one.
I just don't think that's what works best. I think going small and pestering the Warriors to, I feel like you can easily lock down a guy like Pajemski. You can lock down, a Buddy Hield or whoever they put in there, because they get to this point. You saw it in today's game where really the only thing they want to do is just pass to Steph or Jimmy. And if you can...
Oh my God, Gary Payton doesn't even look at the freaking basket whenever he's out there. It's absolutely brutal. You know how many 8-foot shots he just passed up just because that's all they wanted to do? And I'm like, don't even get me started on Draymond. Jesus Christ. That dude just pissed me. I had to cheer for the freaking Warriors for about, I guess, how many minutes of game was that? 53 minutes a game, Bobby? We were texting about this. That team made me cheer for them because we wanted to talk about the scenario where the Clippers would somehow get into the 7th seed and then do another thing where they break out and then get into the lottery. We wanted that. And they made me cheer for the Warriors, and Draymond Green pissed me off. Why did I do that?
I don't know. Maybe this is just a sign from the basketball gods to, not try to root too hard for positioning or whatever, because even though it didn't directly hurt the Thunder, you still had to root for Draymond Green and watch him do that weird little flop thing at the end of the game.
Stupid. He doesn't even play
foul
the game
Kawhi.
He doesn't even play the game of basketball. This dude just flailing all over the court, and that foul on Kawhi at the end of our regulation. I forget who was calling the game. I was like, oh, that's a good foul. And then they're like, wait, no, that is not a good foul. I'm like, that's a pitiful foul. That is bad defense. That is saying I got beat, or I'm scared Kawhi's going to score on me for the win. So I'm going to take away my team's offensive possession chance to win the game to give them a worse chance at scoring. That is not what the depoy does. And Draymond Green winning depoy this year is going to be an absolute travesty.
Oh, yeah. And I know the odds are what they are with depoy. And it's really frustrating and, I don't want to say confusing because it's clear. He just argued for himself, and everyone's just kind of going to, file in and go with Draymond. But, no, I think that felt so dumb. And, by the way, it was Dave Pasch and Bob Myers. Of course it was Bob Myers calling it, and acting like nothing bad happened. When, like you said, that foul only works if you're not getting the ball back. If that was the last shot, absolutely, go ahead. You had a foul to give. But it's so dumb. It's really
You have
not
Steph
good.
Curry, who's on a heater, and you say you can give him the last shot in the game for the win, even if Kawhi hits a mid-range shot, and you took it away from him.
And not only that, but a guy who can hit from literally anywhere. The one person in the league that you're like, I don't care how much time it is left, how long or how far we need to advance the ball, if we have a timeout, whatever. you want, you're like, fine, we have a shot here because Steph Curry can hit from anywhere. You just blow it. Yeah.
But like looping back to things here, like screw the Warriors, and if we did get them round one, it would be a lot of fun just to overcome that demon. It'd be a great transition into what Thunder fans need to have as a mindset, because we have grown with this team the past 10 plus 12, was it 12 years now? 12 postseasons we've had since
this. Yeah, this is the 12th postseason for the Thunder.
Yeah.
It's been 18 years, something like that.
Yeah. So, man, I can't even do the math right. I don't even. Is it 12? Is it really 12? I don't even know.
Yep.
I just
no, they said it on the broadcast.
Out there. Okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
That was somewhere in my head, and I just said it, and I was like, you know what? I probably should be more confident on this. You know, we've grown with this team, and we've watched Steph Curry absolutely sink us. The thing is, it's a new era, and we need respect. And getting the Memphis in round one might be similar to that of the New Orleans Pelicans in round one last year. You know, it might be the easier opponent, but I think there's something to it for a young team who hasn't had nearly enough close games this year to get an absolutely, you know, pivotal matchup like Golden State that will have close games, will have high anxiety things for the fans, to really prime this team moving into round two versus a tough team like probably the Clippers or the Nuggets. You know, I think that it might not be, you know, it's a riskier move getting Golden State, because you never know. If you get bounced in round one, the narrative just completely shifts on this team. But if we win, I feel like that's going to push a lot more confidence into us than a win versus Memphis.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it would be devastating to lose a round one series for sure. You know, Shea would be in the same conversation as like, I don't know, '07 Dirk, who, you know, lost in round one and had to get the MVP, you know, a week later. So it's one of those things where it would be catastrophic for Shea, catastrophic for the Thunder, and all of these naysayers who don't really watch basketball, you know, would be suddenly validated about the Thunder being frauds. And they're not, but if you lose in round one, it's hard to not be called a fraud, and you can't really dispute that, because that would be awful. And Golden State is like the type of team that could do. Hell, they did in '07.
There's just wait for it, Bobby. If they make the 8th seed this year, there's going to be a lot of people. Patrick Beverly, you know, the Kendrick Perkins probably won't do it, but like the dum-dums like that are probably going to. There's going to be a couple of them that pick Golden State.
Beverly has already said, well, yeah, Beverly said something. I saw a clip floating around social media where he said that if the Thunder don't make the finals, that Mark Daignault's on the hot seat. What are you talking about?
This dude knows nothing. And then he just started saying like these analogies just to make it funny. And like, it was like not even close to ball knowing. It was very stupid. They're just pushing content.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's Barstool. I mean, come on. But no, I mean, I think Golden State, I see your points for the pros. You know, where it would be a really cool matchup and really big to kind of overcome that and, you know, kind of bury them would be nice. But not only do I not want to deal with, you know, Curry, but also the whole playoff Jimmy thing. Because Jimmy Butler has famously...
You are absolutely right.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about him, and he is absolutely one of those guys who turns it on in the playoffs. Obviously, first time out for him with Golden State, but how do you think the Thunder would do guarding Jimmy Butler on the Warriors? I don't think we've played him since the trade.
That's a good question. I feel like in this game versus the Clippers, he had like 4 or so and ones. Like he pushed it up to another level, and you can see it starting to come out. And his level of effort whenever he pushes it up, not like this anymore, but maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, there was an argument when it's like playoff Jimmy is like a top 10 player in the league. You know, not regular season Jimmy. This is playoff Jimmy. I think the way that we should guard them is I think you put Kaysen out there on Steph and you put Dort on Jimmy, because I think we've seen Dort do really well versus a lot of the best players in the league, but Steph is not one of those people. His stats for Steph is just not nearly as good. I think Steph honestly does better versus Dort than he does versus not Dort, which is a shame.
So those Royce Young stats that we've seen about, you know, star players versus Dort and the numbers, Curry is like the one exception to that rule. You are right.
Yeah, and which is a shame, but I mean, there's still some things that Dort could do well if he was the primary defender on Curry. You know, they're going to put him through a lot of, you know, ball screens, and Dort is really good at drawing the offensive foul and like a poor screening technique that Draymond's going to inevitably do whenever they do that in the playoffs. It's just guaranteed he's going to get offensive fouls, maybe 1 or 2 in the first game on Dort, and then just whine about it. So get ready for it. But I think that if we play small, and you put Kaysen on Steph, and you put Dort on Jimmy. Because if we're really worried about Jimmy, Bobby, about being playoff Jimmy, putting Dort on him is going to make it a lot better, because the way that Jimmy plays, Dort's really good to go against that.
Right. And like the physicality that Jimmy provides, it's like that's the exact counter you want. And you would hope that Lou Dort could rise. He'll rise for that occasion, but Butler's one of those players who is so good that he can overcome that. But I tell you what, I feel a lot better having Lou Dort on my side. I would feel a lot better about having Lou Dort on my side entering that matchup than not. So yeah, problem, but Dort, you feel like you like that matchup there, but I think that would even more so necessitate, or would mean you would have to go small, because you want Case and Wallace out there, go against Steph. You would need Lou, obviously. So I don't know. I think that really highlights a lot there, and of course
But
there's
I
the
think,
element
I think,
of. Go ahead, you got Jamison.
Keep going. Okay,
No,
I just want to say though, but I think you were right at the beginning of this, Bobby, that Thunder don't play their lineups based off of the opponent. They're going to go out there and they're going to set the narrative. So I doubt this is going to be the case. I bet you we're going to play double big, and we're going to be like, we're going to force the Warriors to play big because that is not their strength, and we're going to make them squirm because of it. We're not going to put our lineup out there because of the Golden State Warriors.
Right. And if it doesn't work, Mark will adjust. He did that against, he did that against the Mavericks, I felt like, decently well. Obviously benching Giddey, that was a big decision. And playing a little more Isaiah Joe, which, even though it didn't work, it showed a willingness to make adjustments. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see how the Thunder would play in that series, or play that series out. But also, another thing about Jimmy Butler, might be dangerous because he would be in one of his favorite coffee shops in the world, is Elemental Coffee in OKC. So we would have Jimmy Butler just like locked in on Elemental. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That
Can we
too distracted?
Can we get Elemental to shut him down and not sell coffee to him?
I don't know. Maybe you just give him too much coffee and then he's too fired up, too jittered.
Now listen to me here. You can kind of help me with kind of the PR communication kinds of this. I feel like this would be an amazing move for Elemental, saying we are not letting Jimmy drink any of our coffee. Come support us, Thunder fans. He's going to be a big business loss that we have. If you guys come through, you can make up for Jimmy's coffee that he would have drank through us. I feel like a lot of people would go to drink more Elemental just because Jimmy isn't drinking there at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, here's the thing on that. It's a double-edged sword, because I feel like on one end, it'd be great for the Thunder fans because you're like, oh yeah, screw you, Jimmy. But on the other end, you did kind of help. Jimmy Butler did put you on a pretty big pedestal when he named you one of his favorite spots. And, maybe the best move is, what if you played up? Oh yeah, Jimmy Butler's here. So Thunder fans could swing by Elemental, start chirping at Jimmy, which might actually be a horrible idea now I think about it.
Keep talking.
You don't want Jimmy Butler to fight your patrons. That's not a good idea. But
this is
if this does happen,
table right now. We got really good ideas.
I know, yeah, Thunder fans, but Thunder fans, yeah, you would know where to find Jimmy Butler, though, if that were to happen. Maybe Elemental just lets it ride. Apparently, they're all, he's all friends with them, so we'll see how it goes.
I doubt that they refuse him. But if they did that, it'd be kind of funny, but would it be, he's the type of guy you do not piss Jimmy Butler off. Like you said, playoff Jimmy. There's also pissed off Jimmy. Like Minnesota Timberwolves practice getting mad at all of his teammates, Jimmy. You don't want to unleash that. So, you know what? I kind of go back and just say, let Jimmy do what he wants to.
Or what you should do, take a page out of his own playbook for his coffee spot and have an upcharge just for Golden State Warriors, employees.
That's
Jimmy
brilliant.
Butler.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Now that's the move. So and he would still go there. Money's nothing to him.
Right. Just slap exactly. Slap an upcharge on Jimmy. That would work. Because he'd pay it. So there you go. Make a little bit more money off Jimmy Butler. And, turn the screws on the Warriors a bit. But anyways, I don't know. When it comes to this game itself, between Memphis and Golden State, and we can talk a little bit about Memphis, I think it's likely that Memphis isn't going to win this thing.
Yeah, I think the odds are 4.5, 5.5 right now for that spread. I'd have to double check it.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. It's one of those things where there's so much variance in any NBA game on a night-to-night basis, which makes
That's what typically. I was not even close.
7.5. Oh yeah. I think that's about right. Yeah, because the Grizzlies are a bit of a disaster right now, I think. I know they responded well with a win over Dallas, who is also a disaster, but I don't know. What do you think about the Grizzlies in general against the Warriors, and also kind of how they would match up against the Thunder?
I'd take plus 7.5 versus Golden State. Golden State just played a big time game at home and lost it to the Clippers, and then they get 7.5 points versus Memphis. I think that, obviously most people would be going after Golden State just because when it turns to the playoffs, it's their time to shine, and there's no Taylor Jenkins. The culture in Memphis is bad. I don't know. That's a lot of points, but at the same time, Golden State is the favorite, but, Memphis has some pieces that they're putting together right now that look good. Yes, they beat the Mavericks by 35 points, but, a team that has, Ja Morant playing with an edge right now, Triple J, who's one of the better defensive players in the country, in the NBA, and then Desmond Bane, that's not a team to just scoff at. This is not like the New Orleans Pelicans of last year. We cannot put them in the same category as that. They're a pretty quality team with some quality players that will give team fits.
For sure. And I think, Triple J, if you ask me, I think he's the best player on that team by far. Or maybe not by far, but I think he's better than Morant right now. The Grizzlies are pesky, and you haven't really seen that, specifically with the Thunder. I think a lot of that's because Morant, I think, missed all but one game against OKC. So it's, you have a pair of blowouts with no Ja. I think one game was pretty lopsided in Memphis, but then there was that really kind of tight game. So, yeah, and, if you want to talk about weird vibes and, just weird vibes, with the team, the Thunder and the Grizzlies have traditionally never, played a series that wasn't close. And I know these teams are night and day different from what they were in the, in the 2020 teens.
Do
it's
Grizzlies
very
fans still have the towels?
I think so. I think they still have whooped that trick. I don't know if they still have the towels or not. We'll have to ask our the friend of the Schooner Pod, Daniel Greer, who does some stuff with Memphis, whether or not they have the towel and everything. If we get this series, we'll definitely do a preview with him, or we'll try to get a We'll try to get him if the schedule allows. But no, I think they still have the towels, and there's just something to me about a FedEx Forum that's packed to the brim. I don't know. That feels like an environment where maybe things could go a bit awry.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun series. I think that no matter who we play this year, it's going to be fun. And I think that they're going to put pressure on the Thunder team. I think that Desmond Bane is a guy that's historically done pretty well versus the Thunder. And I think that as a role player, he's one of the more underrated guys in the NBA. He shoots the three ball at a really high clip, and he's kind of accelerated his growth as a player the past couple of years, where he's playing things in the mid-range, driving, being a good physical player on offense, that he will give us some trouble. And that's why I'm talking about him and not as much Triple J and Ja, because you know what you're going to kind of get out of them. Those are your star players. Right. If you are an 8 seed going against a 1 seed, you're going to have those kind of guys that come out and make big performances and win you basketball games that are outside of your top 2. So you're talking about Scottie Pippen Jr., a guy who's playing really well, one of the better value contracts in the NBA this season, and he's been stellar. And I feel like a lot of fans who watched him in the Summer League a couple years ago saw the tools that what he had, and he's a great facilitator as a bench point guard behind Ja. That's the kind of guy that at the same time, they have role players, Santi Aldama, another guy that could go out there and get 20 points in the game, and then all of a sudden you blink and you look at the fourth quarter and we're down by 5.
Yeah. And I will say, if you want to circle a guy to be, one of those role player Thunder killer type guys, Scottie Pippen Jr. fits that mold exactly to me. He had a pretty damn good game last time out against OKC. I seem to recall.
Let's pull it up.
He's definitely one of those role players.
March 27th game, Scottie Pippen had 17, 7, and 10. That's pretty darn good. And now, was Ja not playing? Yes. He was the starter, played 31 minutes, but 17 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, a pretty damn good game.
Yeah. And I will say, especially when you talk about Ja and how that changes things, and you talk about Desmond Bane, Bane had a horrible game that night. Lou Dort completely shut him out. Not completely shut him out, but he was 1 for 12 from the field, 1 for 9 from 3 points.
Yeah.
That is...
And that's not normal for him, too.
No, that is an abnormal performance from Bane. And one, I don't think you can expect Lou Dort to do that every night. And two, if you have Morant in, that changes that complexion or that composure quite significantly.
Yeah, what's the lineup going to look like? It's almost the exact same question that we had with Golden State earlier, Bobby. Like, are you going to play small? Or are you going to play big? And my thought process is we're going to play big either way. That's what we've shown to be as our pretty much our number one starting unit this year. And we're going to set the narrative, and other teams are going to respond to that. So I'd say you put your best defender on the best player, and that's going to be the point guard for both teams with Ja and Steph. Even though you would like to see Kaysen go and step into that role, Lou is the type of guy who shows out in the playoffs big, and you want him on the other team's best player if you truly think he's the deep boy, and that's what the majority of the people think in the Thunder organization.
And I feel like this would be a decently bad matchup for Memphis. I think it'd be a really tough one for Ja Morant specifically. I don't know. If you look at the way he's been playing, the shot creation isn't really the same outside of just driving to the rim and trying to out-athlete folks. In terms of, he's not dunking really anymore, but he thrives on getting to the rim, and I feel like the physicality of the Thunder and how the shot blocking prowess of those bigs down low, because I don't think Memphis could really match the size. I mean, what are you going to do? Throw out Zach Edey? Like, no, that would be a disaster.
And you talk about the playoffs. This was a big topic in past seasons with the Thunder, because the Thunder always had a guy that other teams would abuse on the defensive end. Josh Giddey was obviously that in the last season. We'd see it even on the offensive side of the ball. They would, bully Andre Robertson, Thabo Sefolosha. There's always some kind of weak link. Zach Edey is going to be a weak link in the playoffs. That is going to be a thing where teams absolutely scheme against him and just abuse him in the playoffs. And if Memphis wants to play double big with Triple J and Zach Edey and try to feast, I think that Shea's going to have a field day.
Oh, yeah. No, if Edey is going to get the can't play Cantor treatment. It's just going to happen. Like, that's as bad of a matchup as you really can think of. I think regardless of who the Thunder bring out there, Hardenstein, Chet, double big, single big, it's just like, that's just not going to work out for them.
Mm-hmm. I would like Kaysen even more, though, starting versus Memphis, because I think the utility of having Chet as a roamer at the 5 versus this Memphis team with Ja coming downhill. I think Isaiah Hartenstein is an exceptional rim protector and defender, but I feel like Chet has a bigger presence of what people know him to be as a shot blocker, that it just adds that ounce of doubt in Ja's brain that he might not be able to finish. And if he wants to get a little too cocky and try to finish on Chet, that's going to be a bad decision 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. No, and I think you're dead on right there. And our good friend Andrew actually brought up a good point when we were at a game recently, and it's like Chet kind of has that, I don't know, like that zone around him where you do not want to go. He's going to destroy you if you try to go on him.
Like prime Rudy Gobert, we saw it, with Thunder teams. There was a lot of scare whenever we had to play against him, Utah, Minnesota. We couldn't do anything versus him. Like, it's the same kind of context to that. Like Victor Wembanyama, Chet, right now are those type of guys where you go in there and then all of a sudden your loose shoulders are a little bit looser. That that muscle memory that you were playing with driving, that changes. There's something in your brain that's changing. And as soon as your muscle memory goes and you're starting to think about what you have to do rather than just doing it, players do significantly worse.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. If you don't have that confidence, that just those blinders, it can really screw with you. Jaren Jackson Jr., the way he spreads the court out, I think that'll be an interesting thing to figure out as well. Like if you have Chet out there, because he's gonna have to tag him from 3. Exactly. Figuring out how you do that, how you handle the rotations of that, where you can allow Chet to be at his best while also not leaving Triple J wide open for 3. That's what you got to figure out.
I feel pretty confident. If you put us into a corner right now, Bobby, saying if we played Memphis, what would Thunder in how many games?
I think there would be a world where they could figure it out and take it in 4. I'm going to go Thunder in 5, though. I think that Memphis crowd is just it. That's arguably one of the bigger differences when you compare it to last year, because New Orleans, just no energy. No one showed up. It was a ghost town. But Memphis always brings it. And I think that crowd is good enough, especially for for a swing game, either, a game 3, gotta have it, or, game 4, let's try to leave here with something. A full strength Grizzly team. But to me, I think the Thunder can handle them, just given the depth, the matchups, all of that.
Yep. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited to watch these games Tuesday and then Friday because it's almost like a scouting opportunity of like, what are they doing well that we need to stop? Because these are playoff games for these teams. These are big time. They're going to show their cards because near the end of the season, there's a lot of teams out there not showing all their cards. These are must-win games for them. Like to win the 7-8 game, like that is to avoid playing the Thunder, and you have to play Houston. That is a big drop-off. It is a huge drop-off. So people are going to, that 7-8 game, from Memphis standpoint and Golden State standpoint, they're not going to hold back. They're not going to keep their cards close to their chest. And so they're going to show us a lot of things that they want to do in big moments, and Mark and his staff is exceptional at looking at that, scheming, and then absolutely abusing them whenever we see them game 1.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, these games are game 7s, game 6, Golden State in them. Actually, no, I'll say it. Every one of those is a game 7 for everyone. Because I feel like if you're Golden State or Memphis, not to disrespect the Rockets, but I feel like you have a way better crack at, trying to beat that team in a 7-game series than the Thunder. I feel like the 8 seed is a death sentence, but if you could get 7, you might have a little chance to make a little bit of noise here, given the, experience and everything. I think I think Houston's a better team than both of those, but there's a little bit more opportunity when compared to the Thunder, which have been a juggernaut all season long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to talk game on what Oklahoma City can do in the playoffs and saying we're too young, we haven't been out there and done it yet, that's Houston times 4. So, I mean, these teams are going to want to play Houston rather than OKC.
Yeah. Well, because the Thunder, I mean, they haven't done it in the sense of winning deep, but they've lost. And that losing helps inform you and build, and I'm not saying losing's good, but in this case it's absolutely experience where the previous year didn't have that. And Houston is kind of at that step where they're just a step behind. They don't have that playoff experience, and that's the real, like you said, that's a real question mark for sure. I don't think you mentioned this. What would you pick the Thunder, that hypothetical Thunder Memphis series, and what would you pick in a hypothetical Thunder Golden State series?
I don't care what I said earlier in this podcast, Bobby. I'm going Thunder versus Memphis in 4. I think we sweep them. I don't care what I said earlier. I think it's a sweep. I think versus Golden State, I think we'd take them in 6 and beat them in Golden State.
Yeah. I would think 6 too with Golden State. I don't know why. Butler scares me. Curry scares me because there's just one of those games where Curry would go off. You just know that would happen.
Yeah, it would be so fun to go to San Fran and win though. Like that would be so much fun.
Oh yeah, shutting it down at Chase Center would be huge. It'd be awesome. I'm in the camp that I hope it doesn't happen because the Warriors kind of a little bit more concerned about that. But if it has to be that, I think I still pick the Thunder. It just would be a little bit of a tougher road. And I'm so confident in the Thunder. It just has a lot more question marks than Memphis, who I think the Thunder could handle pretty well. So, we're not even going to predict series against Dallas.
You want to just predict the whole
Sacramento?
Whole is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying
just
because I don't
that out. I'm not worried about Sacramento or Dallas. If they end up playing, I think who cares who wins that game, but if they end up getting into the 8th seed, I'm going to be exceptionally happy. But at that game, I don't want to be cocky, Bobby, but come on now. I don't think either of those two teams are going to beat Memphis or Golden State.
Probably not. Not at the FedEx Forum. But hypothetically, in that matchup, who do you like between Sacramento and Dallas?
I think Sacramento would win. Is that wild to say? I think that, they're the home team, for one, and I think that it's just chef's kiss. Dallas gets to the play-in and then immediately loses. That just fits the bill.
It would be pretty funny. It would be funnier if they got one really tough road win and then immediately lost again.
It's blown out.
They just teased them just a little bit. They gave them a little bit of
that
hope.
was like our first play-in year where we thought we had it. We were on top of the world, and then Minnesota just absolutely waxed us. I would be okay with that for a Dallas arc.
Right. Because that was, But then they would get a little bit of like a fun little bit of joy that they can build off of for next year, maybe. I don't know.
They beat Sacramento Kings, man.
With no Malik Monk, just Sabonis by himself. And that's really why I would kind of pause on, like, if I had to pick someone upside-wise, I kind of don't hate the Mavs in that situation. You know, with their wealth of bigs, and, you know, Sabonis is the, you know, he's not, I wouldn't say he's the straw that stirs the drink. He's just a whole drink. You know, that's the only thing really Sacramento has going on at all right now, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, they have guys on the wing, like Zach LaVine could go out there and do something screwy, but he also could completely screw the whole series, you know? So, like, I don't know. I would be pretty darn happy if we got Dallas or Sacramento as the 8, because if they did something crazy and beat like a Memphis or a Golden State, because it would feel like the Pelicans all over again. I said that these first 2 teams don't feel like the Pelicans. You know, Dallas, Sacramento would feel a little bit like respite.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I will say Dallas would be a little different in some ways, just in the fact that, you know, there's that previous playoff history and, you know, that it would be, you know, kind of closing the book on that, but it would kind of feel similar to the 2012 series against the Mavs, which is pretty funny that we've had this arc play out exactly the same way, where the Mavs have this great season, they beat the Thunder in, like, kind of, I don't want to say close series, because that first one was weirdly closer than I think people remember. I know it was a gentleman's sweep, but, you know, I felt like that game, that series was closer than a 4-1. So tight game. Dallas wins definitively in the first one, goes to the finals, and you're like, this is going to be a rivalry. This is going to be great. And then for some reason they blow it up the next year and go into a slump, and it never is what it is, or what it could be. And that's just exactly what they did again with the Luka trade. Because it'd be nice to beat them, but it would feel like this isn't you. You're not the same team that we beat, or that we wanted to get revenge on. You know, would have maybe feel a little hollow.
Yep. I am cheering for the Dallas. I am a huge Dallas fan for the next 2 games. Like I just said earlier in the podcast, it's gonna suck because I hate cheering for Dallas. But guess what? Here we are, and I'm ready to see you guys again.
Well, and it wouldn't be a bad trip for you know. I feel like that'd be accessible too for a lot of Thunder fans, and the tickets would be a lot cheaper this year.
Oh yeah,
due to, you know, gestures around the city of Dallas. So I don't know. I think that'd be pretty interesting for sure, but I don't think it's going to happen in the least. So, but I'm excited to watch these games. You know, I think the 7-8 is going to be great on Tuesday. I don't think I can say the same for the other 2, but it's going to be really exciting to watch nonetheless. So. Until then, we're just kind of going to sit around and twiddle our thumbs a little bit, get playoff ready in OKC. I'm sure you've seen on social media, the decorations are coming up everywhere. It's gearing up, and this week is always fun because you feel it slowly crescendo into game 1, which really it's on Easter.
It's a week from today. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's so unreal. Yeah, I can't wait. Like to just, you know, put on the playoff T-shirt and. It's nothing beats it. Like Thunder playoffs for me, it's akin to like OU Texas. Like that's just that. It's OU Texas 1 for anything, but like the Thunder playoffs, like that's the only thing that beats it is Red River, and it
feels different.
Yeah.
It's like whenever you walk in, you see the T-shirts on the seats, you get that little sense of like that. Your chest starts to feel a little bit lighter. You're grinning from ear to ear. You know, you're not. You know. It just doesn't feel real, and it's a wonderful feeling and something that I'm going to miss, and I'm really excited for this season, this postseason moving forward.
Yep, for sure. It's going to be really special, really fun. Still no idea if they're going to do any sort of Thunder Alley type thing. I know they're doing Thunder Up in the Park.
Bring it back! Bring back Thunder Alley!
Bring back Thunder Alley, man. They got to bring the the viewing experience back. We'll see if they ever do that or not.
Yeah, I think they've been burned, so I know they're scared. I know they're scared to do it, but everyone's like, you know, for it.
Oh yeah, everyone wants it, and we'll see where it goes. You know, I gotta commend, you know, the Thunder for putting on a pretty good show. I think in terms of cranking this city up to a different level, I think they've done a really good job marketing wise, to say the least. So, and yeah, got a lot of exciting stuff this whole playoff run that I'm personally excited about. So yeah. I don't know the next time we're going to be talking, because we really don't have a window to preview a series, because we'll find out on Friday, and then It's kind of game time, but we'll find some way to do. Yeah, we'll figure out some sort of content this week, to kind of bridge the gap, because I'm going to want to talk about this. So we'll sort out a plan there. But now, Jameson, anything you want to add before we wrap this thing up?
No, it's a wonderful time. The weather starts to get warm. Playoff basketball comes in. Thunder fans, I think as an overarching theme of this postseason, we're starting to feel the pressure again, kind of like what we felt during past Thunder seasons. Last year was a little bit of gravy. Embrace the pressure, that feeling that you get whenever it's close in the fourth quarter, or if we lose a close game in the playoffs and it hurts. Embrace that, because it feels good that we're back in this kind of position again, and I'm so excited to feel the angst, the pain, and then the euphoria that comes through playoff wins and losses.
Yeah, because this season, I'm gonna say it. This is not. We're past the gravy point.
Absolutely. This is a big season for us.
Yeah, and I know that everyone's young, and there are a lot of years ahead, and that the future is really bright for this team. But we know as well as anyone that opportunities like this, can be snatched like that. We thought we had a golden decade ahead with Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, and then, you lose Harden, and then, stuff happens. So, one, appreciate the moment, really feel it, feel all of the emotions, all of it, but also, it's so important that they win, and they have to make a legitimate run this run, and I don't know, pressure's on, but pressure's fun. So,
yep, it's true. The finals are bust.
Yep, it is. It is. I think that's fair to say it. I think that's genuinely fair to say that. And will it be like? I don't think it would be the end of the world, like blow up the team if we lost.
Of course
or
not.
anything.
We're not going to blow up the team, but for expectations, it's NBA finals or bust.
Yeah, it is. That's just what it is. That's how this is now. And you earned this. This is something we wanted. We had wanted when we were watching, Daniel Oturu, sink our hopes on the last night of the season. Try to get Cade Cunningham, stuff like that. This is exactly what you want. So soak it up, live it up, and soak up this regular season. It was a tremendous success. But I'm excited. I can't wait. This is going to be such a cool week building up to it. And yeah. So that's all we have for today. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review us 5 stars, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe for more. We'll be back at some point to talk about, some of the action that's happened in the play-in, all of that, and kind of preview. I don't know, we kind of did a pretty comprehensive preview here, but we'll figure it out. So anyways, have a great rest of your day, and thunder up, everyone.